There's kind of two lenses with outsourcing. One lens is you subcontract your work completely out to another consultant or another firm, and then they basically are doing everything for you and then give you the work. When you do it more like that, you will have to pay more and you will have less control over the quality of work. Another way is to hire a contractor within your business and train them up, and to train them up in your processes. This is the way that we're going to be looking at today. When you are building a grant writing business or any service-based business, you will hit a plateau where you need to hire some help. Otherwise, your income will be limited because you only have so much time in your day to do client work. As a freelance grant writer or service provider in general, you generally start off with a couple of clients and are the sole person in your business. But as you start to build your service-based business, you realize a couple of things. One, you can't take on any more clients because you just don't actually have the time. And two, you don't actually like doing all the things in your business, all right? So the glass ceiling, like the time/glass ceiling, is normally when you earn about 50K to 100K in your business in a year. This is when we see many freelance grant writers hit a financial glass ceiling in their business because they have no more time to take on any clients and they are burning out. Now, sure, there are some exceptions to hiring before this time, such as if you're working full-time and you have a business on the side, then you have extra capital to put in your business to hire some assistants. But many people end up leaving their full-time jobs once they get their freelance grant writing businesses really operating because it just makes more sense and they can make more money. But as they start building up that freelance grant writing business, they do start to hit this quandary of, oh my gosh, I need some help so I can have some time off. Hi, my name is Holly Rustick, and I am the CEO of the Grant Professional Mentorship and the Freelance Grant Writer Academy. In the mentorship, we help grant professionals double their revenue, writing fewer grants by having streamlined systems, a part-time team, and a scaling offer. We do all of this without burning out. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to hear how to outsource grant writers when you have a grant writing business. Let's first talk about why you should outsource grant writers. You will need to outsource in your grant writing business to scale up or to focus on other services or products like creating an online grant writing course. If you do not hire, you will burn out because you cannot keep up with more clients, or you will simply limit your income. That's that glass ceiling. And having a season of a lot of clients is a nice problem to have, but it is a problem that is pervasive for freelance grant writers since you normally build your businesses pretty quickly. Payne and Isatu were in the Freelance Grant Writer Academy, and they quickly scaled up to 100,000 within a year, but they were both feeling the burnout. Even though they quit their full-time jobs within that year to take on more clients, they were now starting to work on the weekends, on the evenings, etc., to keep up with the client load. And that was in direct opposition to why they started their grant writing businesses, where they originally started to have more flexibility. So they went into the mentorship so they could learn how to hire and outsource, and now are doubling their revenue while working less. So this is what I told them to do, and this is what you can do as well. How to outsource grant writers. Before you outsource, let me talk about what not to do. 3 things. Do not hire people that you do not vet, especially friends and family. Number 2, do not pay based on what qualifications a person has. And number 3, do not forget to train your consultants. All right, so let's talk about outsourcing because there's also a definition of this. There's kind of two lenses with outsourcing. One lens is you subcontract your work completely out to another consultant or another firm, and then they basically are doing everything for you and then give you the work. When you do it more like that, you will have to pay more and you will have less control over the quality of work. Another way is to hire a contractor within your business and train them up, and to train them up in your processes. This is the way that we're going to be looking at today. These contractors are not employees and they're not on payroll, but you act as a client for them. And as a client, you can determine different ways of how you want work done for your business. Here's the thing. You need to also provide a scope of work along with hourly ranges that you end up paying these contractors. So let's talk about it. Number 1, you need time estimations for tasks. If you are interested in outsourcing some grant writing work in your business, you've probably been writing grants for a while. And like I said, you've probably landed around that 50 to 100K in your grant writing business. You have hit the time to money financial glass ceiling. Congratulations. But Have you been tracking your time? If not, that's okay. You need to start though today. Track your time to understand on average how long it takes you to do all of your activities and your tasks. This could include, on average, looking at writing a foundation grant could take you between 5 to 10 hours. Writing a federal grant could take between 75 to 100 hours. Writing a state grant could take 35 hours. Onboarding clients could take 1 to 3 hours. Grant prospecting could take 15 to 20 hours. Writing a master grant template could take around 15 to 20 hours, and invoicing and administrative duties could take about an hour or so per month. So you do want to start tracking all your time, because then you're going to have data on how long the work actually takes you. And then you're going to know how many hours you need to outsource and what these people need to specifically do. You're also going to have clear expectations of the time ranges it should be taking contractors to do the work. Do note that you may be very quick in what your service delivery work is if you've been doing it a long time and have processes. And that's why we like that range of 10 to 20 hours, 10 to 15 hours, that sort of thing. So if you hire a contractor, know they might be on the longer range at first, but within 6 months to a year, you really want to pull them closer to the other end of the shorter time duration of doing that task. But you need to clean up your processes to help them do that. Tracking time will also come in handy when you write up your standard operating procedures, your SOPs, as you will need to include this time duration range for every single task. And if the outsourced grant writer is going over hours, you can look at the systems to see why and shore up any processes. Number 2, write SOPs and have training. SOPs, or standard operating procedures, are vital to provide training for when you onboard your team members. To easily start building out SOPs and put together training, the easiest thing you can do is start screen recording yourself as you work on every task in your business. And as you record, talk through what you're doing and why. So even if you haven't hired anyone yet, I would recommend start doing this. We love using Loom as a screen recorder, but there's so many options out there. Number 3, know what your business can afford. A great book is called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And he talks about a 25% rule of being able to hire someone at 25% of what you make in an hour. This is a little skewed though, so let's break it down. Essentially, if you charge $100 per hour, you can afford to pay $25 per hour for someone coming on. But you might wonder, isn't $25 per hour too little to pay a grant writer though? I want to pay a higher rate, right? But Dan's formula doesn't necessarily mean taking the same money to pay for the exact same work. So what this might look like is if you charge $100 per hour to write a grant, maybe you pay a virtual assistant $25 an hour to send out invoices, manage your calendar, etc. So for other work, but it's still offloading time so you can focus on the higher value work. Paying a virtual assistant at $25 an hour might be more aligned with industry standards of the skill of work versus grant writers who might need a higher hourly rate since it's a different skill. To look at this with a different lens where it makes more sense is actually to look at retainers versus hourly rates. And side note, we aren't big fans of hourly pricing. We actually prefer retainers. So how you would translate to understand how much you can pay for retainer work is to look at your monthly recurring revenue for the next 3 to 6 months. If your grant writing business is making $6,500 per month in revenue for the next 3 to 6 months because you have retainers, then you would look at around 10 to 25% to hire grant writing support per month. So this could be anywhere between $650 to $1,625 per month. And you still might say, that's not very much though, Holly, to pay a grant writer. Well, it's what your business can afford at $6,500. So to make this an equitable rate here, you could look at a subcontracting grant rate of say $50 per hour at 32 hours a month is $1,625. So then you go back up to your time estimates and figure out what the scope of work that they can do in 32 hours. Based on this, they could write between 3 to 4 foundation grants per month, or maybe 2 foundation grants and a state grant. This will give you the expectations that make sense, and then you're paying more equitably. Here's a side note though, do not pay more just because you feel like the role deserves more. You need to pay based on what your business can afford, and if you are running into your pay being too low, your pricing is probably too low and needs to be increased. That's where the issue probably is. So you can still pay equitably, but that's where you would find why that's not working for you. That's where you would find any inequities are usually creeping up. Number 4, create a job description and application. Now it's time to write a clear job description. Include everything about your company, the vision, the culture, then include every single task that you're going to be hiring for this role to do, including the time estimation that they'll be doing every single month. Include the qualifications as well that you're looking for, but be sure not to ask for too much based on your pricing. This is very important because when you create SOPs and have training, you don't necessarily need a highly trained grant writer. You can train them. You don't need someone with decades of experience or with a PhD or maybe even with a bachelor's degree. Include the expectations with any deadlines, availability, and workload, and most importantly, include the pay and the hours per month. And another side note, another area to caution is don't pay on the qualifications that the person who applies for has. For example, if you don't need somebody with a PhD, so just because they have a PhD doesn't mean you pay them more. They already saw what the pay is in the application, they saw the hours, they saw the work, they will apply based on that. Whether or not they have additional qualifications doesn't mean you need to increase the pay. You have to pay based on what your business can sustain. All right, number 5, have consultant grant writers do test projects. And this I got from my coach, Kirsten Roldan. She is amazing. Once you get applications in the door, be sure you have at least 2 to 3 test projects set up. Go through the applications and select the top 1 to 2 applicants to go through the test projects and invite them. For grant writers, a test project might look like taking a master grant application that you wrote and then ask them to turn it into a 2-page letter of inquiry or an abstract. Or a test project could be finding 3 to 5 citations for a certain research area. You want to test for what the tasks they will be doing. But here is the disclaimer. Be sure to pay them for doing the test project. Not that $1,600 a month or whatnot, but at least give them a stipend of some sort that they're investing, because a test project does take additional time than just submitting a job application. But remember, you're only selecting the top 1 to 2 applications as well to go through the test projects that you will pay for. This is the best opportunity to see their work in your company, and you will be happy that you did this. And number 6, hire your contractors. Now you have set expectations from the beginning with the workload, the pay, the culture of your company. Even if you do have friends and family who want to work in your company, make them go through the application process and only select them to do a test project if they are one of the top fits. You will protect so many relationships if you do it this way. That's how you outsource a grant writer in your grant writing business. Be sure to subscribe for more information just like this.